The masked stranger in the parking lot. I always left work late, usually alone. My car was parked at the far end of the lot, under a flickering streetlight. It was quiet, almost peaceful, until the night I saw him. At first, I thought it was another employee or someone who had wandered in. But the figure didn't move like anyone I recognized. Standing perfectly still near my car, wearing a mask, featureless, blank, expressionless. I froze, unsure if I should approach or retreat. I waited a few seconds, heart pounding. When I blinked, he was gone. No sound of footsteps, no movement, nothing. I convinced myself it was a trick of the shadows, a fleeting reflection of the overhead lights. The next night, I noticed him again. Different position, same mask, same eerie stillness. My pulse raced. I walked briskly to my car, fumbled with my keys, never looking away. He didn't move. He simply watched. I thought about reporting it. Security, police, anyone. But the lot was empty. Cameras pointed in the wrong direction. By the time anyone could arrive, he would be gone. Always gone before he could be confronted. I tried to ignore him. Walk faster. Take different routes to the car. But the masked figure always appeared. I started leaving work later earlier, sometimes circling the building to throw him off. But he adapted. Always there, waiting, studying. One night, I stayed in my car until it was empty. Sat behind the wheel, lights off, engine humming. I caught a glimpse in the rearview mirror. He was crouched behind a pillar, mask tilting, studying me. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. My hands gripped the wheel, trembling. The next day, I checked security footage. Nothing unusual. The cameras never recorded him. I asked coworkers if anyone saw anything. They shook their heads, confused. "You're imagining it," they said. But I wasn't. Then came the notes. Small, folded pieces of paper left on my car windshield. "You're predictable. I know where you'll go." No signature, no markings. Just evidence that someone had been watching every movement for weeks, maybe months. I changed my routines. New parking spots, different walking routes, even leaving work in shifts. He adapted. Always present, always waiting. The mask never changed, the posture never faltered, the awareness never left. I tried confronting him once. Stood my ground, flashlight in hand. Called out, "Who are you?" Silence. Just the mask, expressionless, still watching. I backed away slowly, heart racing. He didn't move, didn't chase. But I knew then that pursuit wasn't necessary. He didn't need to. Observation was enough. Days turned into weeks. Every step, every glance, every minor decision in my commute felt invaded. I couldn't eat in peace. Couldn't sleep without imagining the mask in my dreams, crouched, waiting, unblinking. The final straw came one night when I returned home to find my mailbox slightly ajar. Inside, a single folded note. "You can run, but I follow." My name wasn't written, but I knew it was meant for me. I never felt safe again. Not in parking lots, streets, or even my apartment. I moved cities after that, hoping distance would be enough. For the first night, silence, relief, freedom. But the paranoia never left. Every shadow in the lot, every silhouette in the street, reminded me of that mask, that blank stare, that patient observer. I live now with heightened awareness. Every time I leave work or walk to my car, I glance around. Every parking lot, every streetlight, every dark corner holds the possibility of him. I've changed jobs, apartments, even daily routines, yet I still feel watched. The horror box preserves stories like mine. Stories of stalking, observation, and threats that exist without violence, yet terrify more than any attack could. The masked stranger doesn't need to move, doesn't need to speak. Presence is enough. If you ever see a figure, masked or otherwise, in a place that seems empty or safe, remember this story. Some people or some things watch longer, follow closer, and wait patiently. Some threats exist in the quiet spaces between moments, observing, learning, and never leaving. Even now, I glance at parking lots in passing. Lights flicker, shadows bend, and sometimes in the corner of my eye, I think I see him, masked, waiting, patient, always there. The apartment above me never sleeps. I always thought the apartment above me was empty. When I first moved in, I checked the unit. Locked, dark, quiet. My landlord said it had been vacant for months. I believed him. I wanted to. The first night, I heard it. A soft thud above my bedroom ceiling. I froze, listening. Maybe it was the building settling, pipes shifting, a heater rattling. I told myself it was nothing, though a prickle of unease ran down my spine. The next night, the sounds returned. Louder, footsteps, slow and deliberate, pacing. Scrapes across the floor, furniture moving. I got out of bed and pressed my ear to the ceiling. Nothing. I tiptoed around my apartment, checking windows, doors, locks, everything normal. I convinced myself it was imagination. By the third night, the footsteps were impossible to ignore. I set a recorder on the floor. The next morning, I played it back. Silence. The audio was blank, but I knew what I had heard. It wasn't building noises. It was deliberate, calculated. I started documenting it. Each night, notes, timestamps, patterns. The pacing was consistent. 12:03, 12:47, 1:15. The steps were methodical, almost human. At first, I thought maybe someone had squatted up there temporarily, but a squatter wouldn't move furniture in perfect rhythm every night. Then came the whispers, almost inaudible, fragmented. One night, I distinctly heard, "I see you." My heart raced. I checked locks, windows, nothing. The building was supposed to be secure, and yet someone or something was above me, watching, waiting. I tried talking to neighbors. They shrugged. It's an old building. Noise travels. But one neighbor, in passing, muttered something strange. I wouldn't trust that floor. Never empty. That sentence stuck with me. What did they mean? Sleep became impossible. Every night, I lay in bed, imagining the footsteps, the scrapes, the whispers. I stopped closing my eyes fully. My apartment felt exposed, vulnerable. One night, I decided to confront it. I went upstairs, flashlight in hand. The hallway was silent, empty. The door to the apartment above was closed, dark. I pressed my ear against it. Nothing. I knocked. Silence. The handle was locked. I rattled it. Nothing. I returned to my apartment, frustrated, terrified, and exhausted. The next morning, I found a small folded note slipped under my door, written in messy handwriting. I know you're listening. No name, no signature, just proof that someone had been in the apartment above all along. I called the landlord. He insisted it was empty. He didn't believe me. Police arrived when I mentioned the note. No forced entry. No signs of squatters. Just an empty apartment. Legally, there was nothing they could do. The sounds continued. Footsteps, scrapes, whispers. I installed motion detectors, cameras, alarms. Nothing captured the intruder. Nothing showed movement, yet I could feel it. Every night, in the darkness, the floor above seemed alive, watching. I began noticing items in my own apartment subtly moved. A mug shifted, a notebook slightly ajar, pens aligned differently. At first, I thought I had misplaced them, but then I realized they were deliberate. Messages, reminders, proof that the apartment above was not empty. I tried to leave, moved my bed away from the ceiling, rearranged furniture, even started sleeping in the living room. Nothing helped. The footsteps followed, The scrapes tracked me. The whispers persisted. Always at night, always deliberate. I spoke to friends about it. They thought I was imagining things, stressed, or overworked. I considered that. But I knew better. There was intent in the sounds, a precision no imagination could produce. Weeks passed. I tried recording the ceiling with multiple devices, cameras, audio, night vision. Nothing ever appeared. No intruder, no shadow, no figure. Yet the disturbances never stopped. The apartment above me was alive in ways I could feel but never see. One morning, I woke to find more notes. Folded under my door, "You can't escape. I know your routines. I know when you sleep." My stomach sank. Whoever or whatever was above me had studied me, learned me, mapped me. I packed bags, moved to a new apartment, thought I was free. For the first night, silence, peace, relief. Then, faintly, I heard it again. Footsteps, scrapes, a whisper through the vents, timing precise. I looked around the room. No one there, but I felt it. The same presence, watching, waiting. I realized some people or things never leave. Apartments are never truly empty. Floors remember the weight of lives above them. Walls keep secrets. Footsteps echo long after the source is gone. The horror box collects stories like mine. Stories of invasion, of quiet terror, of being observed where you thought you were safe. If you ever hear footsteps above you in a supposedly empty apartment, don't ignore them. Some spaces are not as vacant as they seem. Curiosity, trust, and routine can all be exploited. I learned it the hard way. Even now, I sleep with my senses heightened. Even in broad daylight, I imagine the apartment above me, alive, patient, deliberate, watching. Some secrets hide in floors, in ceilings, in walls. Some observers are patient. Some footsteps never stop. And some apartments never sleep. The night shift delivery that knew my name, working nights at a 24-hour convenience store, was supposed to be quiet, uneventful. Just me, the fluorescent lights, and the occasional customer. I liked it that way, peaceful, predictable, until one night it wasn't. It started with a delivery. Not unusual in itself, packages arrived every week, but this one was different. No label, no return address, just my name written clearly on the side. I checked the log. I hadn't ordered anything. No one else in the store had. When the driver arrived, I noticed something immediately. His eyes lingered. Too long, like he already knew me. He handed me the package without speaking. I said thank you, tried to smile, but his stare didn't let go. It felt invasive, personal, like he had already memorized every detail about me. I brought the package inside. Something about it made my stomach tighten. I peeled back the tape slowly, careful not to rip anything inside. Inside were small items, personal items, things from my apartment. A notebook I had left open on my desk, a pen I thought I had lost weeks ago, even a coffee mug from my kitchen. I froze. These things weren't delivered from any store. No one could have known I had them. And yet, here they were. My apartment, my things. Somehow, someone had been watching. Waiting. I tried to shake it off. Maybe the driver was a friend of a friend, some elaborate prank, but I knew better. I had no friends who would pull this off, and I hadn't told anyone I worked nights. Not a soul. The next night, the same thing happened. Another package, unmarked, with items I hadn't noticed were missing yet. A pair of socks, a small notebook, an envelope containing a photo of me leaving the store earlier that week. I hadn't even seen anyone take it. The envelope was signed with a single word, watching. Panic set in. I called my manager, told him what was happening. He laughed nervously, told me I was overreacting. "It's probably just a mistake," he said. But I knew it wasn't. I started staying after my shift, watching the loading dock. Every delivery person seemed normal, routine, but my packages never appeared on the camera feed. They arrived at the exact moment I wasn't looking. Then came the whisper. One night, I was organizing shelves when I heard it, faint behind the glass door. My name, just my first name. I turned, flashlight in hand, but the lot was empty. Only the hum of the refrigerators, the blinking neon lights, and my own racing heart. I left early that night, but the feeling followed me. Driving home, I kept checking mirrors, every shadow on the street. The packages had stopped arriving at the store, but I knew it wasn't over. Someone had my routines memorized. They knew when I was alone, when I was vulnerable. The next morning, I found another envelope slipped under my door at home. Inside, a note. You left too early. I'll see you tonight. Alongside it, a small keychain from my own apartment. I had no idea how it got there. I hadn't taken it with me. I realized then that it wasn't just a prank. Someone had been watching me at work, studying my habits, collecting my belongings. The packages were reminders, warnings, proof that I was being tracked. I quit the job the following week. Thought that would be the end. I moved, changed my number, avoided deliveries, even canceled my online accounts. But the packages didn't stop. They found me. Always at night, always unmarked, always containing something personal. I tried to involve the police. They shrugged. No evidence of forced entry, no tracking numbers, no proof the driver existed. Just a series of untraceable deliveries. Legally, there was nothing to do, and I understood why. Whoever this was, they were meticulous, patient, careful. I started leaving notes in my apartment. I see you, hoping to provoke a reaction, hoping to understand. Sometimes in the morning, the notes would be gone, or they would respond in short, jagged handwriting. And I see you. I don't leave the lights off anymore. I keep the blinds closed, cameras everywhere, locks reinforced. Every night, the packages remind me someone knows exactly where I am, what I do, and when I'm alone. The fear is constant, inescapable. The horror box preserves stories like mine. Stories of quiet terror, of observation, of intrusion that isn't violent but relentless. If you work nights, if you're alone, if you think the world outside is safe, remember this. Someone may be paying attention, cataloging your life, leaving subtle reminders that you're being watched. I still check the door every night. Every sound makes my heart race. Every shadow triggers my paranoia. I know the packages will come again, even if I move, even if I hide. Some people or things never stop watching. Even now, I hear faint scratching at my door, a soft, deliberate rhythm that reminds me I am not alone. The delivery driver, or whatever he really is, follows me, documents me, knows my routines, collects pieces of me. I live in constant awareness. Every step, every sound, every moment of solitude is compromised. And I've learned there's no escape. No matter how far I move, no matter how hard I hide, someone knows, someone waits, someone always comes. The horror box collects stories like mine. Stories of the ordinary becoming terrifying, the mundane becoming invasive, the familiar becoming unsafe. Night shift deliveries, quiet observers, personal reminders. They all exist in the shadows, just beyond what you can see. If you ever receive a package you didn't order, if someone seems to know too much about you, if a shadow lingers too long, remember this story. Some people never stop watching. Some intrusions are invisible, and some packages are warnings you can't ignore. The silent passenger. It started as a regular drive home. I left work later than usual, the streets mostly empty. My car hummed quietly under the streetlights, and I enjoyed the solitude. At first, I thought it was my imagination. A flicker in the corner of my eye, a shadow on the passenger seat. I glanced over quickly. Empty. Just my coat draped over the seat. The next day, the same thing. Driving down the same route, streetlights flickering, and again a movement. I swore I saw a figure sit upright in the passenger seat. Heart pounding, I checked. Empty. I told myself it was stress. Maybe too many late nights. Maybe the exhaustion was getting to me. But then it started happening more often. Not just fleeting shadows. Sometimes I could feel it. Cold, heavy, a presence beside me, silent, watching. At first, I tried rationalizing it. Wind, streetlights, my reflection, anything. But the sensation was undeniable. It was there. Every time. Even when I stopped at a red light, even when I parked at home. One night, I noticed something different. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, and I could hear faint breathing. Not my own. Steady, slow, deliberate. I glanced at the passenger seat. Nothing. And yet, I could feel it. The weight of someone just beside me. I started testing it. I drove different routes, left earlier, left later. Nothing mattered. The presence was always there. It didn't speak. It didn't move. Just sat, watched, waited. Sometimes I thought I caught glimpses of a face in the corner of my vision. Pale, blurred, almost featureless, but unmistakably human. Every time I looked directly, nothing. Empty seat. I tried leaving the car overnight. Locked, parked in the garage. When I returned in the morning, I could feel it immediately. Same weight, same cold. Always there. The feeling extended beyond the car. I started noticing it in the rearview mirror when walking past parked cars. A shadow sitting where it shouldn't, watching, silent. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. Every ride, even around the block, became a test of endurance. Driving alone was no longer a reprieve. It was a challenge. I considered installing cameras. Dash cams, interior cams, motion sensors. I wanted proof. I wanted to see it, record it, anything. Footage never showed the passenger. Always empty. The cameras didn't lie, and yet I felt it. Every ride, every curve, every red light, the presence was beside me. One evening, I tried confronting it. Staring straight at the passenger seat, I said out loud, "I know you're there. Leave me alone." Nothing. Silence. Stillness. Then the air shifted. The temperature dropped sharply, and a whisper soft, almost drowned by the hum of the engine, brushed my ear. "I'm not leaving." My hands shook. My heart raced. I turned the car off, sat frozen. Empty seat, cold air. Whispering gone. But the weight still lingered. I decided to test leaving my car unlocked, doors open. I went inside my apartment, waited. Nothing. Silence. Relief. Or so I thought. Driving again the next day, the presence returned immediately. I couldn't escape it. Not in my apartment, not on the streets. It followed. Silent, patient, relentless. I told friends. They laughed. "You're stressed," they said. "You've been working too late." But their words fell flat. They didn't understand. They hadn't felt the weight beside them, cold and heavy in the passenger seat. The feeling grew stronger, more insistent. Not malevolent, but impossible to ignore. It wasn't trying to hurt me. It simply existed. It waited. It observed. Sometimes I imagined looking over and seeing it clearly. Its face, its eyes, its expression. I never did. Only hints, shadows, blurred shapes, heavy weight. I tried ignoring it, talking to it, arguing with it. Nothing mattered. Every ride, every street, every empty road, it was there. Patient, silent, unyielding. The horror box preserves stories like mine. Stories of invisible threats, presences that exist without action, beings that follow without need for harm. If you ever feel a passenger beside you, silent, Patient. Remember this story. Some presences are patient enough to wait, quiet enough to linger, and silent enough to haunt forever. Even now, I glance at the passenger seat while driving. Empty, cold, silent. And I know it's there, as it has always been. Some things do not leave. Some things simply wait. The stranger who called my apartment. It started with a phone call, late at night. No caller ID. I answered out of habit, expecting a wrong number, a prank, something harmless. Silence, just static. I hung up, thought nothing of it. The next night, the call came again. I didn't answer. The line stayed open for hours. Eventually, I heard it a whisper, faint at first, then clearer. My full name. Every syllable crisp, deliberate. I froze. My pulse raced. Who could know my name? I had never given it to anyone who would call at this hour. The calls escalated. Always late, always precise. Sometimes a few minutes, sometimes hours. They knew when I left the apartment, when I returned, when I ate dinner. Small, mundane details I hadn't shared with anyone. And yet, somehow, they knew. I began documenting the calls. Dates, times, length, oddities. Patterns emerged. They were watching me, learning my habits, studying my routines. I changed my number, thought that would stop it. It didn't. The calls continued even after I disconnected. I tried a new line, new carrier, even a burner phone. Nothing worked. The whispers adapted, always finding me, always aware. One night, I heard something different. Not just my name, but a description of what I was doing at that exact moment. Sitting on my couch, typing a note, my coffee cup on the table. They knew. I installed cameras inside my apartment. Security measures, motion sensors. Nothing captured anyone entering. Yet the calls persisted. Every detail, precise, invasive. They didn't need to be in the apartment. They already were. I called the police, explained the situation. They listened politely, took notes. No proof, they said. We can't trace these calls. Legal loopholes, they explained. No violation if the caller couldn't be identified. I tried confronting it. I answered a call once. Whispered back, my voice trembling. Who is this? What do you want? Silence, then a faint laugh. A description of my apartment layout. The call ended abruptly. My hands shook for hours. Sleep became impossible. Every phone ring, every vibration, every notification made my chest tighten. Even when the phone was off, I imagined the whispers returning. I began seeing signs outside the apartment. A shadow at the window, a figure in the reflection of my door, subtle movements that didn't make sense. The calls weren't just over the phone. The observer had expanded into my world, into my life. Eventually, I moved. New city, new apartment, new number. I thought distance would be enough. It wasn't. The calls resumed within a week. They knew the new layout, the building structure, even the pattern of my new commute. Nothing was private. Everything observed, recorded, cataloged. I tried to ignore it. Block numbers, change routines, leave the lights on at night. Nothing stopped them. The whispers adapted. Always a step ahead. Always present. I realized then that this wasn't a person I could confront, catch, or escape. Whoever or whatever was doing this had patience measured in weeks, months, years. Observation alone was the weapon. Silence, persistence, and knowledge of my life were enough. The horror box collects stories like mine. Tales of relentless observation, of privacy stripped in the quietest ways, of lives cataloged without consent. If you ever receive a call in the night, if someone seems to know too much about your habits, remember this story. Even now, I hear faint buzzing when I walk into my apartment. Even now, when I think I'm alone, I imagine the whisper returning. My name. My routines, my life, all cataloged, all watched, all recorded. There is no escape. Observation follows. Silence waits. And some strangers know far more than you could ever imagine.